Hello again. Despite all the assurances of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak that he would stop the small boats by the end of the year, numbers are rising steeply with the warm and sunny weather. On Friday, July the 7th, 13 boats crossed the English Channel, containing a total of 686 illegal immigrants. Yesterday, 7 boats brought another 384 so-called asylum seekers to this country. That is over 1,000 extra people to house, feed, provide medical care for, and also pay social security benefits to. People who have contributed nothing at all to this country and yet will be entitled to start receiving benefits and medical care from the National Health Service the second they set foot in this country. This is, not to put too fine a point on it, raving mad. Anybody travelling out of central London from one of the mainline railway stations, Victoria for instance, will have seen the huge numbers of new tower blocks and ugly housing estates springing up in ever greater numbers. The population of London was a little over 6 million 30 years ago, and now it is touching 9 million. That is an increase of around 50% in 30 years, and it's entirely driven by immigration. The people who arrived illegally yesterday and the day before will require ultimately around 600 or 700 new houses and flats to live in. Since most of them will drift to London, that's where these new places will be built. No wonder there are calls to allow building on the green belt around London. This will be the only space left soon for those who wish to live near London. Of course, even those who are declared to be illegal immigrants and so eligible to be removed from the country cannot be expected to put up with such things as poor reception for their mobiles or problems with Wi-Fi, the kind of thing which most of us who were born and bred in this country just have to put up with. The Inspector of Prisons visited the Derwent Side Immigration Removal Centre 6 months ago and found conditions there shocking and degrading. Just to be clear, this centre contains people who entered this country illegally, have been refused asylum and are now being held prior to deportation. In the description to this video I give a link to the report so that viewers may read it for themselves, but one or two parts caught my eye. Section 138 tells us that mobile phone coverage was poor and detainees often struggled to get a signal. This is of course unfortunate, but perhaps they would have got a better signal had they remained in Calais. Here in Wales, my wife sometimes has to lean out the bedroom window to get a signal for her mobile, but then most of us just have to put up with this kind of irritation. Just listen to section 3.3 of the report. The reception area was bright and welcoming, with soft furnishings and fresh fruit and water available. Women were searched promptly by a female officer on arrival, and in our survey 95% said this had been done in a respectful way. An informative booklet was available in different languages and gave a brief overview of the centre. Women were provided with a sandwich and snacks as well as a mobile phone, and they were given phone credit to enable them to contact their families and friends. Provided with a mobile phone when they enter a detention centre. Even when it is declared by the courts that these people entered the country illegally and they are locked up prior to being deported, they must still be accorded better conditions than many old and poor people in Britain enjoy. To many people this seems like an absolute scandal. Perhaps we might start by improving the living conditions of British people living in their own country, especially those of the old and vulnerable. Once they all have a decent standard of living, including a good reception for their mobiles of course, then we might consider providing the same for any random foreigners who fetch up in the country.